Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition is the coolest game ever made. You heard right. The original, factually proven by scientists, coolest game ever made has been dethroned by the simple addition of just 2 words. But how did it pull off such an impressive, if not completely obvious, achievement? Well, it's simple really. They just made Virgil a playable character. Who's Virgil? I hear you ask, foolishly. Is this Virgil? No, that's not Virgil. Virgil is the coolest character, probably, in video games. He's Dante's identical twin brother, and I use the term identical loosely because they look nothing alike in this game. Which is odd because in DMC3, Virgil is just Dante's character model, but with slicked back hair. And I use the term slicked back loosely because he's rocking this Super Saiyan 2 spiky hairdo. But in the cutscenes, when he makes his hair do this, he does that classic slicked back motion, like some sort of 1960s greaser. So I guess I'm just going to go with slicked back, but like anime slicked back. Maybe it's because Dante's face model in DMC5 is just so handsome that having 2 of them in the same game would be pushing that M rating, if you know what I mean.
Oh no, he's hot!
Anyway, I made a video last year about why DMC5 base game is the former coolest game ever made. So if you're interested in my thoughts on that, you can check out that video, but make sure you watch this one first. Or watch that one and then come back to this one. I don't really give a shit. This video is just going to be me gushing over why Virgil is so cool and how many times I can say his name before it starts to get annoying. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Virgil but got DMC5 because it looked cool, you might be questioning me and thinking, is Virgil really that cool? I mean, he appeared at the end of the game and just kind of kicked my ass a bit, and he looked cool, kind of, I guess, but coolest in the whole game? Even cooler than Dante? I'm not so sure. Cooler than Dante? Fuck you. Cooler than Dante? Suck a dick. Cooler than Dante? Eat my ass. To really slam it heavily into your face with great force. Just how cool Virgil really is. Let's just go over his gameplay first. Like the rest of DMC5, the combat is what makes the game cooler than any other game. So much so that other games are starting to just flat out copy it. Final Fantasy XVI is pretty much the same thing in terms of animations. This attack looks like Nero's Devilbringer. This is an actual enemy step, black smoke cloud and everything. DMC5's combat is astounding, and playing as Virgil is so much fun, it brings the game's combat from like a 14 to a 21. The most important thing to note is that Virgil can teleport, and I don't know about you, but I'm a huge sucker for teleportation. I know that Dante teleports too, with his tricky dicky style, but when you compare this to this, Virgil just looks way better. It also goes farther, which makes it more of a teleport. Instead of doing a flip with the double jump like Dante and Nero, Virgil just flips anyway because everyone knows flips are cool, and instead uses a teleport as his double jump. Virgil can also use these quick dodge-like teleports to, dodge, which instantly makes him go up about 7 points on the cool scale with just the animations alone. Look at this big dick energy teleport, especially when you dodge forward and he has his back all straightened out like he's getting ready to square up, just daring you to take another swing at him. Virgil's whole shtick is that he only cares about getting ultimate power. It's pretty much all he talks about. According to Virgil, without power, you can't do anything. Power is everything. He's like Vegeta, hair and all. I'm just going to talk about Virgil's weapons and his attacks to really prove just how cool Virgil really is. When it comes to Virgil's actual attacks and weapon selection, Virgil is, in my opinion, the most fun version of the game's combat. It's cool to string together long, intricate combos with Nero and his double breakers, and getting a perfect X-act. It feels amazing, pulling off perfectly timed royal guards as Dante, and combining his many different weapons to create these absurdly long combos. V is fun too, if you're into that sort of thing, the more laid-back approach, but Virgil is different than the others. Virgil's combat is all about speed, precision, and power. Like I said before, the thing I love most about Virgil is that he can teleport. But aside from his short, dodge-like teleports and his directional air teleports, he can lock onto an enemy, shoot a sword at them, and just teleport over to them in a flash. Dante can also do that, but Virgil's is just better. The best way I can put it into words is Dante's teleport feels like a wave. He kind of appears at the enemy, and then he hangs there for a bit before following up, and if the enemy is far away, Dante has to teleport multiple times before he can get to the enemy's location. Vergil is just there instantly, and there's pretty much no hang time. Well, for the most part. Except for shit like this. I also think it's really cool how, when you teleport to an enemy, if they're far away, you can see Virgil's after image skipping behind him trying to catch up to him because he just moves so fast. Virgil's main weapon is his Yamato, and he can use it to slice through enemies at lightning speeds, leaving a trail of lingering cuts behind him like you see in all those anime. You know the ones I'm talking about. Like Dante and Nero, Virgil's Yamato comes with a plethora of combos from air combos, pause combos, air pause combos, launch attacks, launch attack follow-ups. You name it, it's all here. You can also block attacks if you hit the lock-on button at just the right time. It's really hard to do, but just like everything else Virgil does, if you can do it, it looks cool as shit. I personally love the attack where Virgil can just cut the air and it leaves a trail behind his blade, and then it explodes when he sheathes the sword, and all the enemies caught in the glowy bits just get pulled towards Virgil so he can continue the combo. It's called the Void Slash, by the way. I knew that and didn't have to look it up while I was writing this video. I love using his judgment cut in the middle of a combo and hearing the incredible sound effect it makes. And if you're skilled enough to activate judgment cut right when he sheathes the sword, you can do 2 at once. The timing is pretty much impossible, and I normally do it on accident, but some people can do it on purpose, and I'm really jealous of those people because they're too fucking good. Almost inhuman. A little similar to Nero's Exact gauge and Dante's Royal Guard gauge, Virgil has a concentration gauge that fills up the better your combos are, and when it hits a certain level, there's an after image that follows Virgil every time he attacks and teleports, like straight up Dragon Ball Z shit. The moves that you can pull off with just the Yamato are fucking absurd. From slashing through enemies at breakneck speeds, using pause combos to unleash a barrage of slashes on demons, launching enemies into the air and then slamming them back down with so much force that they bounce back up. The Yamato is my personal favorite weapon that Virgil has, but we're not done yet. Unlike the rest of the DMC crew, Virgil doesn't use guns. He doesn't need them. Instead, he uses his Mirage blades as his projectile. I thought they were called summon swords, but I guess it's called Mirage blades now, where he just throws glowy phantom swords that he summons out of thin air at the enemy. I love how the amount of swords he can shoot is dependent on how fast that you can press the button. Virgil also has a bunch of abilities he can use with these Mirage blades. Virgil can also use his Spiral Blades ability to have swords floating around him, attacking anything that comes close, easily adding points to his style ranking, and also making those teleporting bastards a walk in the park. Fuck you, you can't even fucking touch me, you piece of shit. He can also summon swords around enemies that stab into them, launching them into the air, allowing Virgil to teleport over to them, continuing the combo. He can also summon stacks of swords that shoot out all at once and do a shit ton of damage. He can use summon swords in the sky that rain down on enemies, locking them in place. Every special attack with the Mirage Blades costs 1 Devil Trigger bar, so there's this cost to using powerful attacks, but Virgil attacks so fast that the bar just fills up instantly, so it's kind of pointless, but I don't really care because when I play as Virgil, I just want to do cool shit. I don't want to worry about whether or not I have enough Devil Trigger to use these cool attacks. My favorite thing to do with the summon swords is get a little bit creative with them. I create spiraling swords, I do the attack button, and then I pause, and then I fucking just mash the attack button while spamming summon swords at the same time, and it looks badass. You can't get much cooler than that. I don't think Dante can do that shit. He probably can, and I just can't do it, but in spite of everything I just said that you can do with the summon swords, the thing that makes them so cool is the way Virgil uses them. He doesn't move his hands when he summons them. He doesn't flail his arms around like some spastic magician. He doesn't do weird hand signs like fucking Doctor Strange to get them out of the thin air. He just stands there and these blue glowy swords just shoot out around him. It's so cool. And I mean, think about it. If you were a demon slayer and you had the opportunity to choose between a gun or to shoot swords out of thin air, which one would you choose? There's only one answer. Oh, and before anyone mentions it, I know Dante can use summon swords as well in DMC5, but he doesn't use them in the same way that Vergil does, and he only uses them with Devil Sword Dante active. Another one of Vergil's weapons is his Beowulf, which is pretty much the same thing as Dante's Balrog weapon, except instead of switching between punches and kicks, Beowulf just has punches and kicks in the same combos. You don't gotta worry about that shit. And also, unlike Balrog, where you have to attack a bunch of times before it gets fired up and strong, Beowulf is already powerful as fuck and packs an insane punch, literally. When using Beowulf, there's so much oomph behind each attack, from crescent kicks that leave the earth rumbling to uppercuts that leave the heavens quaking. Every move with Beowulf carries so much power and satisfaction. Also, a back-forward kick combo that does way too much damage, but looks cool as fuck to use, so naturally, I use it all the time. Vergil also uses his Mirage Edge, which pretty much acts as Dante's Rebellion, but for Vergil, it looks like the Moonlight Greatsword for some reason. This weapon is also cool, like the rest of the game, but most of the attacks that you can do with the Mirage Edge are just the same things that Dante can do with his Rebellion, give or take a few combos. But probably the coolest thing you can do with the Mirage Edge is back forward attack button, and you shoot out this giant wave of energy that just takes up the whole screen. It's once again, like Vegeta, it's some Dragon Ball Z shit, and it never gets old. I never, ever stop using it. I spam this attack every time. Switching between all of these weapons feels so good. Launching someone into the air with the Mirage Edge, holding down the attack button, which causes Vergil to throw the sword, having it keep the enemy in place, and then switching to the Yamato to continue the combo is just some of the most satisfying shit to pull off. On top of all of his weapons, if you taunt in the air, Vergil will throw 3 blades out at once that stick into enemies and also launch them into the air a little bit higher so you can continue your combo. And if you have an S rank or higher, he does this really quick slash that gives you more airtime to continue combos. Everything about Vergil is just continuing combos. Every single thing about Vergil is just keeping people airborne so you can continue combos. Everything about Vergil is just so fucking cool. Everything about Vergil is about power. Everything about Vergil is feeling like you have ultimate power. Vergil I said I was going to use his name a lot. Vergil, like his twin brother Dante, also has a Devil Trigger and a Sin Devil Trigger, which are also amazing to use and fun. His Devil Trigger summons a doppelganger which attacks with you and dances, and his Sin Devil Trigger makes his attacks more powerful and it extends his combos, making the finishing blow much stronger and providing more knockback to continue your combos. Vergil's Sin Devil Trigger is pretty much just a get out of jail free card. It's a really hard word to say. Vergil's Sin Devil Trigger is pretty much just a get out of jail free card. Like, look what happens when I'm fighting Artemis and I activate Sin Devil Trigger and just spam Rapid Slash. Like, are you fucking kidding me with this shit? Oh, I'm about to die because I'm getting attacked too much? Oh, I will just go into Sin Devil Trigger and just, yeah. Oh, I'm fighting a bunch of those sword enemies in Legendary Dark Knight mode and they're fucking just cutting me up? No problem. I'll just go into Sin Devil Trigger and just spam Rapid Slash and they can't fucking touch me and they die instantly. If you want to make it super ridiculous, activate Doppelganger and then Sin Devil Trigger. Like, come on. Everything Vergil does in Sin Devil Trigger mode is just anime, the character. Like, pretty much every attack he does is something you would see in a cutscene, but you can just do it in a video game, during gameplay, whenever you want. It's almost too cool. I'm gonna complain about why Vergil is too cool. Just activate Sin Devil Trigger and you'll know what I mean. Oh, another thing I forgot until I was watching gameplay footage to edit this video. Vergil can just stab himself in the middle of combat and summon V, and then he dances in midair and summons all of his little Yu-Gi-Oh cards and fucking just annihilates the enemies. It's really fitting saying that Virgil only cares about power, because playing as Virgil makes me, you, the player, us players, us juggalos, feel so powerful. His moves are so over the top. They all have such a visceral, punching sound effect. So much force behind them, I found myself slamming the buttons on my controller, and I had to remind myself to relax and not break it. Oh, speaking of ultimate power, we're not done with Virgil's attacks yet. He has a couple more. Each of Virgil's weapons comes with a super powerful attack. Each of these attacks require you to have a full Sin Devil Trigger gauge and concentration level 2. Or you can do them while you're in Sin Devil Trigger mode. The Mirage Edge has Deep Stinger. Oh, it's so deep. Which has Virgil using both the Mirage Edge and Yamato to, quote, lunge forward with all the strength of your body and soul behind you. Sure, let's go with that. Beowulf has Hell on Earth, which just has Virgil punching the ground really hard and this big shock wave comes out and hits all the enemies around you. It's not that exciting. And then there's Judgment Cut End, which is probably Virgil's most famous attack. Virgil charges up his Yamato with a quick slash and appears to cut reality itself. No enemies feeling the impact until Virgil sheathes his weapon. Out of all Virgil's attacks, this is definitely the coolest one, hands down. The other super attacks are cool, but they don't come close to Judgment Cut End. Virgil's other super attacks are something you'd probably see in a game like Prototype, using the Devastator attacks, or Infamous, using those super-powered attacks that I can't remember the name of right now. But Judgment Cut End is an attack that you normally see either in a cutscene or in a special circumstance fight. That just lets you do something like that. I can't name a game off the top of my head. Leave me alone. But in this game, it's something that you can just do whenever you want, or at least when you meet the requirements to use it. Being in the middle of a battle and just whipping this out at full mast and smacking the demons in the face with it, it's just, fucking look at that. It's so cool. You don't see this shit in other games. You just go straight up Super Saiyan and just annihilate the enemy. It's almost unfair that you can just do this attack. Yes. Virgil is a really special character and provides the player with a different experience. Nero is a streamlined version of the combat system. He's a way to get used to the timing of combos and getting used to making your combos look cool. He's easy to play as, which is why in DMC 4 and 5, he's treated like an introductory character for the player to get good with. V is for people that want a more laid-back experience. He doesn't require many button inputs or finger dexterity or practice. You just kind of hit the buttons and things tend to happen, and your score just goes up for some reason. V's fun, but after I made my first video and played as him more, I find him less fun. Dante is for people who want to utilize the full depth of the combat system. He requires practice. Want to get good at jump canceling and switching weapons mid-combo? Then you better practice. Want to get good at using Royal Guard? Then you better fight Cavalier Angelo 1,000 times and get good at blocking his attacks. Same thing with the final fight with Virgil. I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying that practice is necessary for Dante. And then there's Virgil. Virgil is the character you play as when you want to feel ultimate power. Playing the game as Virgil is basically playing the game on easy mode at all times. Teleporting makes it hard to hit you. You can spam warping at an enemy, hit them with a quick combo in the air, then warp again, and then hit them again, and you can just repeat this until the enemy dies. Your style ranking won't really go up, but you can certainly do it, and it looks cool. Every single one of Virgil's attacks looks so impressive and flashy, even his basic attacks. Virgil is the character you pick up when you want cool things to just happen without doing too much. The amount of times I would play as Virgil and cool things would just happen on the screen and I would just sit there staring thinking, what the fuck is going on? Virgil moves so fast, and after playing as him for a while, going back to Nero and Dante just feels like the game's in slow motion. Vergil is fun for fun's sake. Devil May Cry is a game that is at its most fun when you actually learn the combat system. With Nero and Dante, when you look like you know what you're doing, you look like you know what you're doing. Everything you do looks cool. It's really easy to tell when somebody is just picking the game up versus when somebody has been playing the game for a long time. It's kind of like fighting games in a way. You can tell when somebody's playing Smash Brothers at a high level versus, just playing with your buddies at a party. In Devil May Cry 5, when you don't know what you're doing, it's really easy to look dumb. Like, when you watch me play, for instance, I fucking suck at this game. But Vergil looks cool no matter what you do. Every move he makes and every step he takes just looks amazing. He looks cool by default. You don't even gotta try. But for more advanced players who know what they're doing, he looks even cooler. I love the amount of care that went into adding Vergil to the game. He's not just like a quick add-on. Capcom knows that fans of the series want to go crazy with Vergil. His animations look so incredible. His lightning-fast movements look so powerful. The lingering glow that comes out of each swing of his Yamato lights up his character model. The sound effects that accompany his moves ring out through your entire body. It's like chewing 5 gum. His taunts are also great. There's one where he spins a summon sword on his finger. There is one where he pulls out V's book and starts reading it. There's one where he turns the Yamato back into Nero's Devilbringer arm from DMC4. And those are just to name a few. There's plenty more that just look so cool. And when you have your doppelganger out, he dances with you, which is like, come on, like who thinks of that? It's fucking awesome. And for me personally, with Vergil's portion of the game, I'm really glad they only added a couple new cutscenes because I don't need to know the story of why Vergil is now playable. I just want to play as him. I don't really give a shit. Show me the beginning when he encounters Nero, and then let me play through the game without doing all the bullshit, and then have cutscenes at the end where he's fighting Dante. That's what I want to see, and that's what they gave us. So it's like they read our collective minds. I know everybody thinks like I do. I am objectively correct. My only gripe with the new cutscenes is that they almost look a little bit too shiny. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but the new cutscenes, they look like they took the bloom filter and Procreate and just cranked it up to 12. Everything looks so glowy. The original version of DMC5, the character models look great and amazing, and the high fidelity CGI cutscenes look like the game. Like there's not really that disconnect. But in the special edition, the character models look fake. I don't know. Is that just me? Fuck it. I don't care. Even though he's just a video game character, it's pretty amazing to me how much of a presence Vergil has. It's not like he was the main villain for the whole series. Vergil doesn't really make his appearance as the cocky prick we know and love until DMC3. And even then, he's only in that one game. He's not in DMC4 and was only made playable much later when they re-released it on the PlayStation 4. So this video game character, who was only in one game, is so iconic and left such a huge impact on the gaming community that whenever he shows up, there's this collective, oh shit, it's Vergil, met with cheers because he's so cool, but also groans because now he's probably going to ruin the balance of whatever game he just arrived in.
Not proud! Oh my god! The nightmare. The nightmare.
Kind of like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, or so I hear. I'm not a pro at that game. I just heard that shit through the grapevine. You'd be hard-pressed to find a person who knows who Vergil is and is familiar with his character and admits that they don't like him. Even though Vergil is like a huge asshole, everyone loves him because he's just so cool. Now, with this amazing segue, I'm going to talk about some miscellaneous things that I didn't cover in my original DMC5 video, and some new things that come with the special edition. For example, other than the newly updated performance with the PS5 version, with the ray tracing, like who the fuck knows what that means? Really, everybody who hears the word ray tracing Googles it because nobody knows. But it also came with the introduction of Legendary Dark Knight mode, which aside from having the most ridiculous and edgy name possible for a game mode, is like the Son of Sparta difficulty mode, but it increases the amount of enemies on the screen to like an insane amount. Check out all these fucking enemies. Look at these guys. Look at all these fucking demons. And once again, the most fun character to play as in Legendary Dark Knight mode is Vergil. because his moves are so fast and he just cuts through millions of enemies at lightning speed. It's so satisfying to play Virgil mowing down hordes of monsters. Playing Legendary Dark Knight mode is not nearly as fun when you're playing as Nero or Dante, because their attacks don't really cover an area of effect like Virgil's moves do. That sentence made sense. Through the use of forbidden dark magic and worshipping at the altar of Ebrietas and making communion with the moon presence, I managed to secure myself a PlayStation 5. Please don't kill me. The special edition of Devil May Cry 5 for the PlayStation 5 utilizes the new controller in some pretty cool ways. Depending on the character you play as, the lights on the controller will actually change. Blue for Nero, purple for V, red for Dante, and teal for Virgil. The new adaptive triggers also simulate Nero's sword revving up. When you rev up the Red Queen for an X-Act, the triggers actually vibrate kind of like an engine. It's pretty cool. It sounds really gimmicky, but it's pretty fucking cool. And that's pretty much it. Other than the new graphical update, which, unless you're into that sort of thing, frame rates and ray tracing, you probably won't really notice because it's not that big of a change. And a lot of the new stuff you do in the special edition kind of turns off the ray tracing. And one last thing I wanted to cover in this video that I didn't cover in my last video, a couple people brought up something that I forgot to mention, and I've been losing sleep over it ever since. I've honestly never in my whole life felt so foolish. I said before that V is probably my new favorite character to come from a video game. And while I still like V a great deal, and I want to play Yu-Gi-Oh with him at some point, I was incorrect. I shouldn't have even humored the idea without mentioning Nico.
Nico, it's Roman. Let's go ball.
I fucking love Nico, and she brings every scene she's in to life. She's funny and kind and incredibly smart. I love that Nico's the outsider in the group. She doesn't really know anyone and she's not really used to the whole group dynamic. I love that she's the only one that reacts to Dante's little dance number. I love that she shows a little bit of fear when she thinks no one's looking, but we're looking, we can see it, and that's what matters. And of course, I love the running gag that she manages to show up with her RV wherever you are, and the incredibly slapstick, humory ways that she manages to show up. My personal favorite is when she just crashes through the ceiling of that one building on the way to fighting Artemis. Like, they're all funny, but that one's just like, what the fuck? Like, my favorite thing about Nico is her relationship with Nero. They have this really genuine, sweet, and heartfelt brother-sister dynamic, which is surprisingly surprising to see in a video game between a girl and a boy who aren't actually blood relatives. They tease each other, but also care about each other. It's really oddly sweet how Nero lights her cigarette, and it's really charming how Nico teases Nero about him breaking the Devil Breakers. Literally, every interaction between Nico and Nero is amazing. Their dynamic is so realistic too. Like, Final Fantasy 15 doesn't have shit on Nico and Nero. I think everyone has that best friend that's, you know, kind of like this. You tease each other, you roast each other, but you still show concern when it matters. I think most people have friendships that are like that, and Nico and Nero is a really good representation of that relationship. My personal favorite scene with Nico and Nero is the one of them at the end of the game, right before the credits.
How's it feel?
How's what feel?
Saving the man who killed your own father. Heard Dante killed Virgil once.
It doesn't matter. They're both gone now anyway.
It's okay to cry. If you want, Nero, over a loss.
Not cry.
It doesn't make you a crybaby. Does make you a little bitch, though.
There it is. You think I'm a demon?
I didn't cry when my asshole daddy died. But... yeah, I know. I wouldn't be here without him, that's a biological fact.
Right.
All I'm saying is, tough guy, it's okay to cry if you want.
I'm
Devils
not
cry.
crying.
Devils cry.
I'm not gonna
Kittens
cry.
cry.
Will you
Meow.
shut up? Will you
Puppies
stop
cry.
it? Look at you. You're nobody.
Why don't you
Nobody's
cry on my
crying, all
shoulder?
right? Stop
Come
saying
on, cry on
cry.
my shoulder. I know you
You
wanna.
say cry again. Devil may cry. Fuck.
You said it.
This scene is simultaneously heartfelt and probably the funniest scene in the whole game. The camera work and the acting, the comedic timing, on top of the purposely overly dramatic way that Nero catches the Devil Breaker arm, everything just works, and it's a really good way of summing up how all of Devil May Cry 5 is. It just works. Devil May Cry 5 is silly, but it's also heartfelt and awesome and fun and funny, and it has good taste in music, and it has a heart, and it makes you feel good, and it's a great way to blow off steam. Just like a good buddy, Devil May Cry 5 is always there for you when you need it. Devil May Cry 5 proves once again that when it comes to action games, it can't be matched. The gameplay never gets old, and now with the addition of Vergil, it never ever will. When I released my last video, I refused to watch other DMC5 related videos because I didn't want my opinion to become corrupted by other people's opinions. I felt like such a fool to find that pretty much every video ended with Dante saying jackpot, but in spite of saying this, I'm gonna do it again. Jackpot! Also, I found out while recording for this video that if you stand on the grave where all of the scissor demons are, then a giant ball of red orbs appears, and that's also pretty cool. Greetings. Thank you for watching the video. I wrote this and recorded it in like November. Through the past couple months, I've just been editing it on and off because I'm so lazy and lack motivation. But hopefully I'll be able to make more videos in the future. I'm hoping to do around one video a month. We'll see how that goes. Probably won't happen because I said it out loud, but whatever. Anyway, thank you for watching the video, and feel free to subscribe if you feel so inclined to. Okay, leave me alone.